what's going on, everybody? Welcome again into another edition of the Voice of Camp Nathaniel. It is officially March. How does that make you feel, Lee?
How did we get here?
It's all been a blur.
I know the time continues to march on, but I just want to, how did it go this fast?
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. We're almost a quarter of the way into 2024 already.
But we just started 2024.
It's a crazy world in which we live. Man, we had a lot of fun last month, didn't we?
It was really cool.
It was really cool going back to just some old episodes of The Voice of Camp Nathaniel, as early all the way back as to 1962. We got some recordings, and we have plans in the future of going up and what's the word? What's the verb?
Rummaging.
Rummaging, is that the right word? Yes.
There's a lot of dusty boxes in the chapel attic, and we have been digging through them, and it's a lot of fun to see what you're going to find.
It is. It really is. So we're going to see what we can find for future episodes and go back and just relive some moments from the Voice of Camp Nathaniel. But thank you to everyone who has commented or mentioned how cool those episodes were. And if you did not listen to them yet, you can go back on this channel, on the podcast. You can go back and listen to the history of the Voice of Camp Nathaniel that we covered in February.
Yeah.
It was great stuff. Hey, speaking of Camp Nathaniel, because this is the Voice of Camp Nathaniel podcast, and it wouldn't really make sense for us to talk about a lot of other things.
It would be a little weird.
Yeah, so we have a guest in the studio with us today, and it is another Missionary highlight episode, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, good, because if it wasn't going to be, then I was going to get worried because that was on the agenda for me.
So we have an extra person sitting at the table with us right now as we're awkwardly talking about her. Like she's not in the room.
Yeah.
Hi, Harley.
Hey, just staring me down as you talk about me in the...
It's Harley Kelley. Harley, how are you?
Good, excited to be here.
That is awesome. Everybody's excited to come on the Voice of Camp Nathaniel. You know that?
It's because it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Well,
why
when
we
you
hang out
listen
here.
to you on the radio, it's like, man, they sound like they're having a blast. And you guys you crack me up anyway. So I'm always excited to join in.
Lee, people like us.
We have positive feedback. Correction, at least one person likes us.
At least one person likes us. That's right.
The rest of you listening, come on, guys. Give us something here.
Hey, we get the opportunity every once in a while, and we're going to do more of these throughout 2024. We get the opportunity to sit down with members of the mission here on the full-time staff, and we get to hear their story. We get to hear not only their salvation experience, but what did God do through the leading of the Holy Spirit to bring them to where they are here at Camp Nathaniel? Because we have people from all over the United States who are full-time staff here at Camp Nathaniel. And today we get to hear Harley Kelley's story. So let's get right to it, Lee.
Yeah, so jumping into the first question here, Harley. I guess it's the most broad of all the questions. It's like, who is Harley? Like, where I know you're not originally from Eastern Kentucky, so where did you grow up?
No, so usually my accent does give me away. I'm from South Carolina, so I grew up in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains.
Okay.
And I was raised by my grandparents, basically.
Okay.
Long story short. But yeah, so I'm from South Carolina.
South Carolina. I see. I think she talks more like me. I'm from this area, but I spent like 4 years up in Louisville going to school, and so I developed a little bit more of a proper accent. But I think you fit in great. So
Well, I think most people don't catch it at first, but usually about halfway through a conversation, people will be like,
wait a
"You're
minute,
not from here, are you?"
who are you and where have you come from?
Yep. It takes them a second to catch on, but they usually do eventually.
So what was fun about South Carolina?
Oh my goodness, everything.
Yeah.
A lot of the same things as here.
You have an ocean.
Oh, well, yes, but I grew up in the top corner of the state, so
Okay.
6-hour drive to the ocean.
Oh my,
But,
yeah, okay.
But lots of waterfalls, lots of hiking trails, lots of family. It's like here, everybody knows everybody kind of thing. So, yep. All
Nice.
those fun things.
Gotcha. The other question that we wanted to throw in there as well, and mixing into like where are you from and all that. I guess it's this what we would call it, the salvation story. Like when did Jesus come into the picture here? How did God move in that way? Was that something that you grew up with? Was that something that came later in life? How does that factor in?
So my story is kind of complicated. I'm sure most people can say that, but so I came from what most people would consider like a broken home. So my parents got pregnant with me in high school and that kind of thing. Young, dumb kind of thing. And when I was 8, I was actually taken away from my biological mom, and custody was given to my grandparents. So my grandparents loved the Lord. They had us in, me and my younger half brother and sister. We shared a mom. They had us in church all the time. But my biological mom and dad weren't really interested. So I kind of had a skewed understanding of, like, I knew in my head who God was.
Yeah.
But I had a skewed understanding of, like, what a father looked like the relationship side of it.
Okay.
So when I was 16, my biological mom actually passed away. So just, I'd grown up in basically just turmoil, like drugs and alcohol and that kind of thing. And then moved to my grandparents' house. And then I felt like my parents chose other things over me. And so I had a hard understanding of, like, why would God choose me when they didn't? So when I was 16, they started the process of adopting my younger brother and sister and myself. And it just kind of went from head knowledge to heart knowledge. Like, I started to understand, wow, he loves us. Like, he chooses us, like that relationship aspect of who God is. So that was the point when I took everything I knew and made it a relationship, asked Christ to come into my heart. So that was kind of my salvation story. I always knew the right answer, quote unquote, right answer, but yeah.
And you were how old?
I was 16.
16.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that.
So I've never heard this story before. So I guess, I've heard bits and parts and whatnot of it, but I hadn't heard it all said together. Yeah. So that's actually, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in there.
Well, the first thing that kind of blows my mind about the whole situation is the fact that with everything that you went through growing up and let's call it what it is, the traumatic experiences that you experienced, the fact that God has led you here to this area right. where so many kids can understand that in like crazy similarities, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
And so, that just shows, it's a reminder to us, we always talking about, how do we bring this full circle, but it's just a reminder to me that, God's plan is such a perfect plan, and how that works out, and that we, in the middle of what we're going through, that we have so many questions, so many doubts, so many God, what are you doing moments, because this doesn't feel loving. This doesn't seem like this is something that you would be pleased with at all. And he's not, but what we don't hear at that time is God saying, in a sense, Harley, in 15 years, this is going to make a whole lot more sense.
Yeah. Well, and the whole story of our God and his son, Jesus Christ, as one of redemption. And
Absolutely.
So it's just so cool to see how, like, even the things that we consider that are so bad and horrible and hard, like, he redeems those if we just wait it out, and are faithful in the season that we're in. And, but what you were saying, one of the reasons I actually decided to stay here was my first summer that I worked here. I had a young lady in my cabin who was being raised by her grandparents, who had gone through something super similar, and she actually ended up giving her heart to the Lord. And so I was like, okay, Lord, it was just like he just dropped that in my heart of, like, this is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
It's been really cool just to see how the Lord has used that to relate to other kids.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Consistently throughout the Bible, those are the stories of, well, this awful thing happens, and then God comes through in the end.
Yeah,
and he's been doing something the whole time. Just right. When you're living the story, when you're reading stories in the Bible, and like you're reading, you're like, oh, and the story ends well. And this is depending on what your listener, who's listening in right now, you might be in the middle of one of these stories, and you're reading the story in the Bible, and you're like, yeah, and I know that everything turns out well in the end. But if you're the one that actually is living the story, you're going to have moments where you're like, I don't know if this is going to turn out the way it is. And some of you that are listening right now are probably in the middle of some of those stories, and you're wondering, God, is this actually the way it's supposed to? Are you doing anything in the back? What's happening? Can you let me know what you're doing in the back? And sometimes God will tell us, and sometimes he he surprises us and says, well, you're going to get the answer later.
And sometimes too, like that's not something that we see in our lifetime. Like we just have to trust the Lord that like he has a plan for everything. And even if we don't see it in our timeline, it's going to play out like it needs to, the way he wants it to. So
That's right. Absolutely.
So my next question here, you've kind of jumped into it a little bit and talking about your first time at camp, but I got to ask, how did you end up at camp? Because it's one of the fun questions because
you don't get to say sovereignty of God. I mean that is the go-to. We all know that's true. We all know that's right, but we need specifics here. Right?
We want the details of how that sovereignty, how did the sovereignty work? Because it's always interesting to hear how it happened because nobody ends up at camp, Nathaniel, on accident.
Right.
Nobody just, it's not you're driving down the road and you ran out of gas and it just happened to be at Camp Nathaniel. Like you came because somebody pulled you in or something happened.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, like in youth group and stuff in high school, we actually came over to Leslie County, Big Creek Missions. And we would come on trips in the summer and spring break and stuff and serve actually in Leslie County. It was so close.
And did we mention, I don't think we've mentioned yet, did we mention that Harley is one of our Leslie County workers?
Yeah. We've got,
did we mention that already?
I don't think so. Yeah.
We've got workers that are in Knott County, obviously where camp is, but we've got a lot of people that live in the surrounding areas that are plugged into a variety of different churches and ministries around the area as well. Not as in addition to working at Camp Nathaniel.
And
it's not just our only thing that we do. It's not just like, oh, well, I work at camp. It's like, well, you work at camp and you go to church here and you're involved with a lot of other groups.
But it's so cool that when you came up here on a mission trip, you were focused in on Leslie County, and now that's where you live.
I know, right?
and you're heavily involved in ministry in Leslie County now. So it's just full circle. It's good stuff.
And like I said, you guys said sovereignty of God, but it really was a God thing. Like I was familiar with Leslie County and Hazard and just kind of a little bit of the area, but I went to college at Toccoa Falls College, which Cameron McIntyre, who will be editing this later.
Thanks, Cameron.
Hey, Cameron.
He also went to Toccoa Falls, as did Hannah Bennett, who also works here at camp. So I didn't know them, which is weird at TFC because it's so small.
Were they there at the same time as you?
Yeah, Cameron actually came in my same year as I did.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I don't know how we missed each other, but we did.
Cameron, what were you doing?
Really? He was on the football team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They have Toccoa Falls has those shirts.
Undefeated.
It's established football established in this year, undefeated. It's great. Anywho, sidetrack. Keep going.
But I had gone to college there and I was in my senior year and I'd worked, every summer and stuff. And I'd always wanted to be a camp counselor, but I just never had the time. I just worked all the time. So fast forward to senior year, they had a missions conference where they brought in all these different missions organizations, which Faith and I actually recruited from last week. We were down in Georgia recruiting from this conference.
Very cool.
But I just got to the point where I felt like the Lord was saying, Harley, are you going to follow me wherever I lead you, even if it costs you something? And I knew the cost was going to be leave your family, basically.
Man.
So I was like, Lord, I'll go wherever you send me as long as you go with me. Well, I kid you not, like 30 minutes later, walking through the student center, and we walked by this table where Beth McIntyre was standing. And I didn't know her, but my friend knew Cameron. So she stopped to talk to her. I literally had a 30-second conversation with her. She got my email address, and that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, Beth does stuff like that, She does. She can do that.
She's really good.
Give me 30 seconds. They're here.
Well, she just kept emailing me after that, and it was just like, all right, I'll do it. So ended up here. So like I said, she just got my email address and kept emailing me, and I just kept filling it out thinking, oh, I'm never going to get the job. I need a real job after college, my senior year in college. But she kept emailing me, and the rest is history. I ended up here for the summer.
And then so you were here for the summer, just serving as part of summer mission, as a summer missionary. Was that it?
Yes.
And so what brought you to the point of?
Well, I got to ask, what was your job that summer?
Oh, good
did
question.
you have did they put you in a certain area?
Well, I was a cabin counselor for the girls, and then I worked in the dining hall for 2 weeks, like family camp and high school week. So, yeah, those were the two big jobs then. So
Gotcha.
Man, they threw you to the sharks fast,
I know.
didn't they?
And like I said, I'd never done anything like this, and it was like,
She's never been here before. Let's make her dining supervisor or in the dining room during family camp.
oh yeah, it was sink or swim.
If our listeners, if you have not been to family camp,
Hey, we're gonna be talking about family camp.
The number of dishes
Oh,
they go through that washroom.
Yeah.
It's
you ask anybody who's been through the dish room during family camp, and their response is, "I've seen some things."
Well, just like you said on your previous podcast about being in the pots and pans, it's like that but tripled.
Oh yeah, it's pretty crazy. Anywho, all right, let's leave.
So how'd you,
Where we going?
make the transition? So
Oh,
what's
yeah,
the
so-
you came as just a summer staff, which is
Yeah.
fun and amazing and all the good things that
Yeah,
play into
how-
that.
yeah, how do we get to
But-
full-time
But how
from
do we
there?
get to full time from there?
Well, I didn't know anything about camp before I got here. Like I literally just knew it was a summer camp in Kentucky. Nothing else. Didn't have any, never seen it. Didn't know what kind of things you did here or anything. Just thought it was a summer program. So once I got here and I kind of found out, Scripture Memory Mountain Mission, they minister to all ages, all year. I was just really intrigued by that and the opportunities for discipleship that go with that. So they invited me to come back. Rick and Kathy Franklin
Yep.
invited me to come back for outdoor ed. So I came back for that, and then I actually worked part-time from then through COVID while I was support raising. So
Okay.
just kind of fell in love with it that way.
And so you officially came on as full-time staff when?
In 2021.
2021.
At the end of May.
See,
yeah.
she's not been here that much longer than we have.
No.
She's beating us by a year right now.
About a year, yeah.
Got to give credit where it's due now. If we come down to just pure seniority here, she's beating us out right now.
6 whole
That's
months.
true. Yeah, she has seniority over us. Good deal. So let's keep it going. What we got next?
So since you've got the seniority, I got to ask now, what are some of your favorite camp stories? Like, what are the things that when you think about your time here at camp, whether that's during the summertime, when you were just working as the summer missionary or coming into as full-time, what are some of your favorite memories? And you might have already mentioned one of them with the girl
Yes.
giving her life over to Christ. So that one I would assume is up there, but what else you got?
Yes. So 2 come to mind pretty right off the bat. And the first one was a couple of years ago. I had gotten a little kitten. I lived here on campus, and I got a little kitten just as a pet, but it ran around all over campus. And we were having summer camp, and she would go up to the cabins, and the kids loved to pet her and different things. Well, we had one kid in a boy's cabin that was really homesick. And so one night,
I'm sorry, I thought you were going to say really allergic to cats.
really homesick. No, like,
Oh no. Sorry.
he was really homesick and just like really wanted to go home and would cry at night, and Lucas Bargo was his counselor. And so one night he pulled the boy out on the porch and he was crying, and Bargo was pulling every card in the book. Like, I want you here. Your cabin wants you here. God wants you here. And he said, Harley, out of the darkness came your cat with a dead mouse in its mouth. And he was like, that's it. There's no recovering from this. Like
It's
this
the gift that keeps on giving.
yeah, this kid's going home, And he said, Harley, that boy looked at me and said, even the cat wants me to stay. It brought me a gift.
Brought me a gift.
Yeah. So he stayed the rest of the week after that.
When we tell you that God can sometimes do things that seem really weird,
Listen, God can use
he sent that
anybody.
cat on a mission that night.
Here, take this dead mouse. Oh, wow.
Yep. So, and then one of my more serious favorite memories is just during COVID, we weren't able to have kids stay overnight on campus, but we did for the seniors.
Right.
So the night we were supposed to have campfires, it's usually like on Tuesday nights, and I was the counselor for one of the girls' cabins, and it got rained out for campfire night. Well, we all ended up on the porch of the handcraft building, just looking up at the stars and singing just praise songs and worship songs. It's one of the best campfires I've ever had.
That's
and we didn't
cool.
even have a campfire. So.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome.
All right, last question that I have. I think, Stephen, you've got some questions after this here.
Yeah, but let's get to the serious stuff
Let's
first.
do the serious stuff here. On a more serious note, just asking, what has God been teaching you recently? What have you been, I guess, reading in the Bible? What has He been showing you? What's been the newest thing that God's been?
Yeah, so I've been doing a study by Priscilla Shirer on Gideon. And I guess I just always thought of him as a faithful guy, but like the more I dig into it, the more I'm like, he tested God every second of every step of everything, and I'm like that. I have this tendency when things do get hard to be like, God, what are you doing? Like, I'm being faithful. Where are you? Kind of thing. And so the Lord's just showing me, Harley, you got to be faithful. You know where I put you and what I've called you to. It's your job to be obedient, not to question me every step. Like, that verse that says our daily bread. He doesn't promise to give us the whole plan for everything. He promises to give us what we need for the day. And then the other thing I would say is the word he's kind of given me for the year has been humble, which I'm always hesitant to say because you always think of being humiliated. But just being humble enough to learn, being humble enough to admit when you're wrong. So that's kind of what the Lord's been teaching me lately.
I always love Gideon's story, like just the level of patience that God has
Oh,
with
my goodness,
Gideon.
yes.
Where he's like, all right, Gideon, I need you to do this. And Gideon's like, can you prove that that's what I'm supposed to do? And God's like, all right, I'll keep playing along here. We got jobs to do now, Gideon. Let's get to it. And he's like, well, but we got to do this. Okay, we'll do the thing first. And then will you do? Yes. Okay.
Yep, one faithful step at a time.
Well, Harley. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome. And what we're going to do here, just to kind of go out on, we've gotten so much good stuff this morning in regards to your story and how God has used that, and how God continues to use that in the lives of students here, and then anyone who may be listening to this podcast. But we wanted to take a few minutes here at the end and do something a little different, all right?
Okay.
With our missionary highlights, to where we can kind of ask you some questions that we think are very pressing questions. You act like I'm being sarcastic.
Well, the look on your face does not look too serious.
Why does everyone, when I talk to them, at some point they start laughing like he's not being serious? That's because it's true. let's just be real. Let's just be honest about it. All right. So a couple of questions that these are. I'll let you know that these are opinionated questions.
Okay.
That could be debatable. I'll just go ahead and warn you, but I am going to tell you whether they're right or wrong. Just so you know.
There's not a right answer, but Stephen has already determined.
But I've already determined if it's the right answer or not. All right. So Harley, what I want to know is, first of all, what's the best smell?
Fresh cut grass.
Oh, wow.
That's actually pretty good.
I think that's correct. I think that's right.
Pretty good answer.
The closest next one may be sawdust to me, maybe.
Or like the smell of rain.
Maybe. Fresh cut. Gosh, you know what? People can't see this, but I'm giving her a high five right now.
Hold on.
Wow.
Have you ever driven by Chick-fil-A about 10 o'clock in the morning, and they got the fryers going and all that? I don't know. That might be a pretty good.
I can think of a lot of what the worst smells are, but we'll save that for a different time. Okay, Harley. We know this can't happen, but just in case, how long do you think you would survive a zombie apocalypse?
Oh, totally. I would win it.
Would you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I'm unassuming is the thing. Like they wouldn't expect me to win. So
Notice her answer there. Her answer was not, "I will survive."
She's
going to win. Like,
I will win it.
This is apparently not a survival thing. This is a competition.
Oh, yeah.
But as the one who has the final say, I have to inform you that's incorrect.
He's like, I'm gonna win.
All right, let's do one more here, just for fun. Harley, is cereal soup?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I always think of cereal in terms of like grits and oatmeal, not like soup.
Okay. What's your determining factors in bringing you to that conclusion?
Most soups aren't milk based.
Lee, what would you say?
But you can add milk into like a tomato soup. You might add milk into that.
Really?
Yes.
Would you do that?
It makes it creamy. What kind of tomato soup are y'all having?
Not the creamy kind.
Are you all just...
It's a vegetable. Like, why would
Nothing
you
like
add milk?
creamy tomato soup. But
All right, people in the comments,
milk-based tomato soup.
I'm apparently sitting across the table from two people who have never had a good bowl of tomato soup with their grilled cheese.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there was milk in my tomato soup or not. But
We'll have to ask Clarky what he put in his tomato soup this summer.
okay, yeah, we'll see. I would agree with you that it's not soup. Yeah, because I think soups.
How do you define soup now?
I think soup should be hot.
Yeah.
And I know there are you can have hot cereal, and those maybe fall under more the category of soup to me. But initial cereal, what we're talking about, like oat things, pieces of cereal floating in milk. No, I don't consider that soup. No. All right. Well, hey, this has been everything I dreamed it would be. So.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It is what it is. Hey, Harley, again, thank you so much. And we really enjoyed your story and everything today. So thanks for coming to be part of the Voice of Camp Nathaniel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I feel like 2 for 3 is a good way to go out.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Look at that. Awesome. Hey, everybody, stick around. We got some more to talk about here in just a little bit. We're going to have somebody in here talking about overnights that are coming up this month, and you're not going to want to miss it. So stick around. We'll be back right after this.
All right, we're back now, listeners, to the part of our program where we're going to talk about some ministries getting ready to come up here at Camp Nathaniel.
Are we? Is that what we're doing?
We've got a lot of them coming up.
Man, do we? I mean, my goodness, we're coming out of winter, we're going into spring, and there is just a ton. And listen, I'm not exaggerating. There is a lot of stuff happening at Camp Nathaniel over the next couple of months. Yeah.
I don't have any weekends free.
Yeah, I know. Goodbye weekends.
Never mind all of that.
What is this spring you speak of? It's almost summer at this point.
We've got camp stuff to do.
That's right. Hey, listen, we are talking about our spring overnights coming up, our spring retreats. Those of you who have been to those in the past, we're talking 4th grade all the way up through senior in high school. And we got a special announcement a little bit later on that we're going to get to. But to help us break all of that down, we figured, you know what? We should probably yell at somebody from the overnight committee and have them come in and talk to us and give us the details. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nate Block.
How you doing, guys?
Doing good, man.
I like how whenever we have somebody on the podcast and we start talking, we introduce them, and it's almost one of those moments like, all right, and the spotlight turns. And then you go, wait, what am I supposed to do? Hi?
Hey, how you doing?
I was torn between just generally asking you how you're doing, and the other one was just going to go, hello there.
See? Glad you got both of them in. All right, so Nate, you're part of the committee that heads up the spring retreats that are coming up here at Camp Nathaniel. Of course, today being March 1st, we've got some coming up. Actually, this month is pretty full. How about you break down the and tell us what's specific about how, because these are a little bit different this year. All right. So our people need to know what's going on. So if you've got a 4th through 12th grader, listen up as Nate breaks this down to you and pay very close attention.
All right, so the first one coming up on March 8th and 9th is our 4th through 6th grade retreat. Let me say that again, 4th through 6th grade.
Because that is different than how they've been in the past.
Correct. Those are different. We're throwing the 6th graders back in with the younger kids.
You remember when I said just a few seconds ago to pay attention, Lee?
It's a special announcement.
There you go.
Announcements.
No. There'll be plenty of time for that this summer. Let's leave it there. So the first one is for, again, 4th through 6th grade. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's we're moving the 6th graders down with the other group. We're gonna be moving. Then the other one on the 22nd and 23rd is for all of the other school grades. That's 7th grade all the way up through 12th grade. Part of the reason for that was just high schoolers are really busy, and high school retreat / overnight, because it's had 100 different names, and
It does
That
change
keeps
names.
changing for some reason.
Yeah, that's fine.
We just didn't get the numbers, so it got rolled in so that maybe it could have bigger numbers and be a little more fun.
But, yep, absolutely.
And we figured that maybe it would be a really weird dynamic if you had 12th graders and 6th graders at the same overnight. So it's just
Yeah,
we thought it was better.
It's a good breaking point. So again, reiterating what Nate just said, we've got the first one coming up for 4th through 6th graders, and that is going to be on March the 8th and 9th.
That starts on Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
And goes until Friday evening.
Yeah,
And then
it goes until Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon.
Okay. And then the second one is March the 22nd and 23rd, and that is for our 7th through 12th graders. And this is all counties, right?
All counties,
that are with both of these. So it's not like we got a weekend for Perry and Knott or a weekend for Leslie and Letcher. It's all rolled into one. So don't worry about what county you're from. It's all dependent upon your grade. 4th through 6th grade, it's March 8th and 9th. 7th through 12th grade, it's March 22nd and 23rd. So now is the question. How much does it cost and how do they get here? How do they register?
The cost for either weekend is $10.
$10.
Registration is it's all online.
It's all online.
All online. You go to campnathaniel.org/spring retreats.
That's plural. Spring retreats. campnathaniel.org/spring retreats registration. And registration's open right now. We need you guys to get on there, register your kids, and take advantage of that. And how much did you say it was?
$10.
$10. $10, man. You stay overnight at camp, you eat, you play, you learn. It's cheap, man. Come on.
Admittedly, we're losing money on this.
Well, of course
I
we're losing money.
I love our campers that come, but have you seen some of the way campers eat? They're eating more than $10 worth of food.
And listen, I'm telling you, man, anything else in creation, you think you pay a cheap price for it, you expect a cheap experience. Not with Camp Nathaniel.
Well, and
Absolutely not.
we're a nonprofit. We don't make money on anything.
That's true.
We don't make any money. We're a nonprofit.
That's how we operate, guys.
It is what it is. So again, let's reiterate. That's the right word, right?
I think it's so.
All right, I said rummaging on a past episode, and it was the right word. I was just making sure I was using it correctly. So again, let's break this down. Let's remind everybody first of all of the dates and the grade divisions.
On the 8th and 9th of March, it's the 4th through 6th grade. And then on the 22nd and 23rd is 7th through 12th.
All right. Once again, price and how do they register?
$10. You go to campnathaniel.org/spring retreats.
There we go. Good stuff.
So if you're one of the students and you're coming to one of these, what are you expecting to happen there? You're going to show up on a Friday evening. You're probably going to eat some really good food. We'll have some time in chapel.
Yeah.
Hanging out, doing worship and all that good stuff.
I don't remember if it was chapel first or if we went to group rec first. But
regardless,
that is your first two events there.
Group rec is a lot of fun.
Yes,
it is.
We play the best games.
Indeed we do. It's always good.
I think it's our test ground also for a lot of our summer games.
It is.
So if you want to experience summer camp before summer camp, this is the way to do it.
Absolutely.
I think I personally tested one of my own games.
You did.
And it was a pretty good hit.
It went over well. It really did.
Once the kids figured it out.
Hey, we've got one more really, really exciting announcement to make. And this is something that honestly has kind of been in the works for a long time. It's something that people have always requested, and we are privileged to be the first ones to share it with you. First of all, how many times do you guys remember when high school seniors would graduate from camp? They'd be there on their senior night of their week of camp, and they would always look to the camp director and say, when are we going to do a college event here at camp? When are we going to do a college retreat? When are we going to do maybe just a weekend for college? You know what? What do you got to tell us, Nate?
The time is now.
Where's my button? What button? What button? Yeah!
Okay, we got the right one.
Yes.
Just a list of your
Nice.
buttons.
Yeah,
I
don't go by
you were
lists.
about to hit the sad trumpet there, and then it would have been.
I know where that one's at. So yes, let's get back to what we're talking. Quit touching the buttons. All right, we have it. This is important news. People are wanting to hear this. We've got we have an actual college retreat for actual college students coming up. And tell us first of all when it is. But I've one of the most amazing things is it's 2 nights.
Yes, that is the biggest change between that and the other ones is you get 3 days. You come in on the 15th of March and you go home on the 17th of March.
15th through the 17th of March, we're having a college retreat right here at Camp Nathaniel. And that's open to all college-age students.
Yes.
All right. But there is just like the others, there is a fee. And of course, we're doing 2 nights here. So there's more food required. There's more stuff happening. And so how much is that for the college students?
$30.
And listen, when I was in college, I would go to retreats and stuff like that, and I was paying upwards of $50, all right? At least $50 to go on weekend retreats and stuff like that. In this case, the entire thing, $30, and you guys are welcome to come and partake. And again, you can go to I believe we can go to spring retreats. Is that the website? I think it is. We didn't discuss that coming in, did we? We really should have done that. So yeah.
Steven is checking right now.
I'm checking as we go. Come on.
For our listeners that can't see what he's doing.
There's no sense in going back and editing this. Cameron, we depend on Cameron way too much. So let's just college retreat. All right, you're going to go to campnathaniel.org/college retreat. Not spring retreats, college retreat. Not retreats. It's one.
College retreat, because there's
College
only one
retreat.
There's
Singular.
one retreat right now.
Singular. Come on, Lee. So campnathaniel.org/college retreat, and you can get signed up, ready to go. And you know what, guys? I'm super, super excited because I've got a very, very dear friend of mine who's coming in to do speaking and worship for the weekend. And I don't know how many people listening to this podcast are going to know who this is, but did you ever play the game 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know
how
exactly what you're
everything,
talking about.
like within 6 names, you can trace any like actor back to Kevin Bacon somehow. Well, I'm convinced you can do this with Kurt Vernon as well. And so for anybody who doesn't know who Kurt Vernon is, he's going to be the speaker. He's going to be the worship leader for the weekend. He's an elder at Commonwealth Community Church in Lexington. Been doing ministry with him for the past 2 decades, and he has such a heart for college students. They even planted a church on UK's campus. So yeah, good stuff.
And he's not paying me to say this. So I'm going to go on and throw this out there. If you want to get a preview of Kurt Vernon, you can look him up. I know he's on Spotify.
Oh, he's got music all over the place.
So
man.
you can
all over the place.
can look up and kind of get a preview of what you're going to get that weekend.
Yep.
Again, he's not paying me to say this.
No,
he has
he's
no
not.
idea that we're saying this about him. We're just trying to promote him because he's really that good.
That's right. Well, Nate, thanks for coming in and giving us the rundown, the info on all the overnights, man.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yes,
So
indeed.
one more quick thing.
Yeah.
If so, 4th through 12th grade, if you're wanting to register, you go to
Spring retreats.
spring retreats. If
Yep.
you're in college, then you would go to campnathaniel.org/
college retreat.
All right. We'll try and throw those in the show notes there. That way we've got the links ready for you.
That's right.
So yeah,
It's on you, Cameron. Let's
looking
go.
forward to seeing y'all.
All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks with another edition of The Voice of Camp Nathaniel. Lee, Nate, see you guys.
Yeah.